So I want to talk about the Great Heart Way. This is the name that actually my teachers gave to a form of practice that they developed, working primarily with strong feelings. Um, and it's also the great matter that we study in Zen. The Shinchen Ming, Trust in Faith Mind, which many of us have studied for a long time, from the third Zen patriarch, talks about great heart over and over. Some of the lines that I pulled from it for this talk: to seek great heart with thinking mind is certainly a grave mistake. So that was pretty basic Buddhism, that we're not going to touch this unitive consciousness with our thinking mind. This unitive consciousness is called great heart. Some people call it big mind. Great heart is actually more inclusive, accurate. As many of you know, this teaching is titled the Shin Ming. And trust in heart, mind, shin. That word shin means both heart and mind. But we tend to have this idea that the mental part is primary, and that the feeling part is somehow subordinate or secondary. But we have to correct that. So calling it great heart is better. With great heart, one with the way, all ego-centered strivings cease. So this is the course of our practice, to align great heart with the way. To find great heart as being one with the way. And all ego-centered strivings cease. And then we hear, thought cannot reach this state of truth. Here, feelings are of no avail. So, we all pretty well schooled that thoughts can't reach the state of truth. But feelings also are. And I remember when I was practicing with my teachers, doing work with feelings. So feelings are also of no avail. Well, when we identify them with them, then they're of no avail. And that's what we're talking about with thoughts too. Thoughts cannot reach this state of truth. When we identify with our feelings, then we also can't reach the state of truth. But when we don't identify with our thoughts or our feelings, then actually our feelings are a more powerful access to non-dual consciousness than thoughts are. So what are the ways of working with challenging feelings? Well, let's back up a second. What are challenging feelings? What are the main ones? Sadness, fear, anger, guilt, and shame. That's my Hall of Fame. Does anyone have any others? Sadness, anger, fear, guilt, and shame. Any others? Awe. Okay. It can be challenging, but it can be almost overwhelming. Okay.
Traditionally, jealousy.
Jealousy. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, see, I don't like using the word negative.
Well, I mean, could
They can be challenging, right? They can be challenging in some situations, right? Yeah. Why would something like joy be challenging, do you think? Yeah. 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 I kind of look at that as it can be destabilizing, right? Which would kind of fall into the fear category, or uncomfortable with the bigness or the, you know, of a feeling. You know, we can be averse to our own power. So actually feeling powerful can be difficult to feel. And I would kind of put that in that sort of fear category. Afraid of being big, or afraid of being.
I was thinking like overwhelmed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So we've got these, right? And as we know, and we look at ourselves, that these can kind of be stacked, right? Sometimes some feelings are coming in order to deal with or distract us from or blow out, you could say, some of the underlying feelings. So, I noticed that anger also often comes when fear is underneath. So fear very quickly produces anger as a kind of energy in order to deal with the anger, move something through the body. Right? Anger certainly comes from shame. It's very, very uncomfortable to feel shame directly, as I'm sure many of you have experienced. Actual feeling in the body of shame, that sort of icky, sticky, heavy, painful in some ways, is extraordinarily uncomfortable to feel. You'd almost feel anything. We want to die. We want to shrink. We do not want to feel this. The idea quality of it is I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, but the feeling, that's right. The idea is the idea, but it's that feeling that's the difficult part. So anger actually feels a lot better than shame. Anger feels good, actually. That power, that energy, that fire. Same thing with guilt. So there's a few ways to work with this that I want to, investigate. There's three ways I want to talk about. So the first way is kind of, you could say, just the standard mindfulness way of dealing with emotions. So this is kind of what's taught in, basic mindfulness trainings, right? So there's like the RAIN acronym, right? Recognize, accept, investigate, and not identify. Right? Recognize that you're having a feeling, accept it, right? Allow it to be, allow it to feel, investigate it. So you investigate with your body, not with your mind. Investigate it, explore the dimensions, the edges, the texture of the feeling, and then not identify, which is to, in a sense, adopt this posture of it is not that I am angry, it is just anger. Okay, you kind of take the I out of it. The whole matter of not identifying, of course, is very subtle. Requires a lot of art and practice, meditative mind to not identify. So kind of easier said than done. But there's that path, and that path is good. Good. It opens up that space so that the feeling can just sequence and complete through the body mind. And we can learn to be more fluid. But I find that this doesn't really use the strong feelings in the most powerful way as paths to awakening to our true nature. So I want to talk about working with emotions as our object of shikantaza and as koans with our Zen practice. So to work with the feelings of shikantaza is to completely immerse yourself in the feeling, to become one with the feeling. No separation. Allow that feeling, let's say it's anxiety, okay, which kind of has a number of different strands to it. But just to completely be the anxiety. Completely be it. Feel every little bit of it. Feel it in your cells. Feel it in your bones. You can do this while you're lying in bed, sitting on a chair. You don't have to be in Zazen to do this. You can do it, especially when it's strong. Just allow yourself to become completely absorbed in the feeling. The same way in Shikantaza, you become so completely absorbed in your own point of presence that there's no inside or outside. There's no me, there's no you. There's just that one. Great, great experience. It's happening on its own. So have the anxiety or have the anger to have that silence completely fill the universe. When you practice with strong feelings in this way, something happens. It's really quite amazing. Something alchemizes within the system, and it shifts and changes, and you shift and change. That's why our ego mind, whatever that is, it's a pattern, thought pattern, you could say, collection of drives, that process, the ego process, wants to go in the direction of minimizing the feeling of the uncomfortable or challenging feelings, maximizing the pleasurable feelings. That's the direction of that. But the direction of this practice is actually to not manipulate the feeling at all and to allow it to turn you. Allow that to wake you up. And it does happen when you totally throw yourself into it. A way to sort of think about this, but this is kind of a limited way to think about it, is challenging feelings you could look at in some ways as like a whirlpool. The current of your life force kind of gets wrapped up in this whirlpool. And you just, in this practice, you just submit to the whirlpool. You just completely throw yourself into it. You let it just completely turn you inside out. And what happens? Eventually, you're out of the whirlpool. You get sent out. That's what happens when you fully put yourself in to a strong condition. I'm not going to tell you how long it's going to take. It could be a second. It could be a day. I've practiced with this where I've done this, intense practice like this, where I'll throw myself into a strong feeling that's come up for half an hour or an hour in practice, at night. And then it's not like it releases immediately, but the next day, totally. Just a profound, and then my mind is unfelt, left unfelt. These feelings produce this contraction and this egoic contraction from the subconscious that I'm somebody. They contribute to that egoic contraction, but we don't feel fully. And then the third way is to work with the, oh, let's see, that one to say. Yeah, so an image to hold here is with Shikantaza is that it's kind of like you hold yourself like a mountain, right? But it's the mountain that includes the sky. You know, the mountain is included in the sky, right? It's all one, right? I mean, does the sky stop where the mountain begins? No, it's like the mountain is right embedded within the sky. It's all one. Okay, so you be that mountain which includes everything. No separation. When we're working with the feelings as koan, now we're gonna add something to it. We're gonna investigate the source, right? So in terms of this metaphor that I just said, if the feeling is this mountain, the body is this mountain, okay, we're gonna go deep down into the earth, find the source of the feeling. Not only the source of the feeling, but the source of the identifications that have been created by our relationship with the feelings. So to do this, we really go deep into the body and we work with the feeling the way we work with koans. The way we work with koans is to bring an inquiry, the mind of doubt, to the question. Yeah. So the monk asked Joshi, does a dog have Buddha nature? Joshi said, we investigate that. Ooh, what is that? What is that? And what we come into contact with, and through contact dissolve, is this idea, this internalized belief that I'm a separate person. Somebody who can have something or not have something. But our inquiry into, well, what is this, brought us to that place. And we touch the source of the question, you could say, who is asking, who am I? Who is asking, does a dog have Buddha nature? So with that mind, we apply it to our challenging feelings, right? To that anger that comes up in that moment, or that shame that we might feel, or the sadness that we might feel. And we work with these, we work with these in terms of emotions that are coming up that perhaps the source is mysterious. Right? It seems to be there's something going on, but I'm not sure what. Right? To feel deep sadness when something sad is happening, somebody has died, or you've had a fight with your partner. I mean, it's not. There's not much of a koan there. It's just living life. You feel the sadness. When you're angry at somebody who's crossed a boundary or done something horrible, there's not much of a koan there. That's the living responsiveness of your being. It's those ones that are a little bit off. It's like I'm really angry at her for not doing the dishes, or I'm continually enraged at, my boss for something. These patterns where they're disproportionate, or something's off, or something's blocked, or something's masking something. Right? These are the ones that are the real sources and can be our real doorways. So we hold these feelings, we hold them in our meditative awareness, and we really kind of explore the source. We use some visualization, which we do in koan. We visualize the situation where it's been presented, so you can even bring to your mind the scene that conjured the feeling. Stay with that, feel the feeling through the body, and feel the way, if it moves through the body, feel the depth of it. And then something arises from the depths of the body mind that may show you where that feeling is sourced. Yeah, my teachers who created this practice, they called it a fixed image, which usually is an idea that got created in your consciousness at an early age, usually, and then got suppressed into your subconscious. So it might be an idea like, I'm not worthy of love, or I'm only worthy if I do really well at school, or if I create conflict, then I'm going to get hurt. We all know these fixed ideas that we have. I don't know, 25 classics. We all have 5 to 10 of them, maybe. Maybe there's fewer than 25. But we all have our very unique things that happen in our lifetime. Very unique, like to the point of like the words that we use and the looks on people's faces and the conditions that have now been sort of cataloged as key to this experience, become very important. I mean, like we can associate a certain look in somebody's eyes with extreme rejection, disapproval, and that can feel crushing if, say, our mother did it when we were 4 years old. And now if somebody gives us that look, particularly someone that we really want approval from, it can be devastating. But there's so many layers of obscuration to protect us from these feelings and to deviate and channel these, that it can be very difficult to really get to the heart of them. So the work that my teachers developed was to, bring the feelings up in meditative awareness, allow them to bubble up with some sort of fixed image, and then to explore that scene, where it was created, and then to bring love and to bring whatever that child, that's usually the child, needed in that place and didn't get, to empower the child and to give them love and to give them nourishment and to give them guidance and to give them support. And it's pretty amazing how this actually happens throughout space and time, because in one way, you're going into yourself, but you're also going back in time. And it strangely feels like you've changed the past when you heal these things from the past. Your whole memory of subsequent experiences, everything that happened between that time and this time, actually shifts in your understanding because your heart of compassion opens up. And you have a greater connection with your greater self and also everybody else's greater self. And suddenly you find yourself to be less of an isolated being. And this is how koans work. Every one is kind of an opening into non-duality. It's a dissolution of a very specific identification that we create. The core one, is I am a separate being. It's the core one, that's mood. But then there's other ones too. that we investigate. When one Zen teacher was, when my teachers shared the great heart work with, they shared it with many Zen teachers. Pretty much all of them loved it because it was a, modern form of Zen. And I guess, yeah, I wanted to say at the beginning, Zen, as most of tends to lean towards the unemotional. It has a bypass built in, unfortunately, predilection to not go into feeling. So it has this kind of strictness that people mistake for you're not supposed to feel. You're supposed to bypass feelings. That's probably been reinforced by the Japanese samurai culture, which maybe has that to it, going to it too. But Zen isn't like that. It's not like that at all. We're not. The reason that Zen monks of old went to live in monasteries was actually because it was in some ways more distracting to be out in the world and dealing with feelings of relationship and such. But also because it was more difficult. It was just more difficult. So they created this rarefied environment to apply themselves there. And there were probably some strong feelings that were generated in the monastery, certainly with respect to teacher-student relationship. So questions of authority, came up. But what about all the other amazing ones like loneliness and heartbreak and vulnerability and connection and all of those, fear, existential fear. They were kind of protected from all of those. So they could have deep, awakening experiences, but put them out in the world, right? And be able to function. A lot of them probably were, but many of them probably not. So this one Zen teacher who was presented with Great Heartway said, "Oh, the koan curriculum takes care of all that." And my teachers said, no, it doesn't. And pretty much everybody else that I talked to about it, who's done great heart work. And there's people who don't do this type of work and tend to fall into bypasses. In fact, I talked to one of the seniors in that teacher's lineage. And he said, yeah, I was bypassing when I was doing this just real strict koan practice. So it's really essential, actually, to work with strong feelings in this way. And it's a great opportunity that we have. It's very rich. And it can take us all the way to awaken to our true nature, to full nature. But we have to be willing to go all the way in, intimately into the feelings. When you're so completely absorbed in a feeling, it's like, and you're gone. It's just like there's no room for like good or bad or this or that or get me out of here even. There's no room for get me out of here. It's just this is it. This is everything. You almost have to have the attitude of, okay, this is never going to end. There's nothing else but this. Just completely surrender to it. That's when something happens. That's when good stuff happens. Okay, so I'm very curious in our sharing just to talk about how strong feelings are for you, how you work with them, because there's a lot of ways to work with them or not. That's maybe that's your practice, self-form. So thank you for your attention.